Hi, in this tutorial I'm going to be talking about object-oriented programming in Java. Before proceeding further, I just want to let you know that I've already created few projects and few other tutorials about basics of Java programming. If you don't know OOP already, I would recommend you to go and check this out. Java programming, solve programming problems, Java programming and solve recursion problems. Recursion problems are a bit difficult, but you can check this out. Other than this, I have already created tutorials on game development. If you want to learn game development, just check that out, in which I have used basic concepts of OOP. Alright. Other thing that I want to let you know that I've created a group on Facebook. Make sure you go and join this group for sharing knowledge about programming, for getting more understanding of programming by sharing with different people around the world. So what is OOP? OOP stands for Object-Oriented Programming, and that is a model that is to represent real-world objects and their relationships in programming. It provides components to transform objects containing properties and functions. Almost every modern language like Python, Ruby, C++, C#, and Java follow OOP model. There are mainly four components of OOP. First one is encapsulation, second one is inheritance, third one is abstraction, and fourth one is polymorphism. And I'll be talking about all these four components, and I'll be practically showing you by doing code that how to use these four components, when to use it, what are the benefits of using these components in programming. So these are the things that I'll be covering in this tutorial. First, I'll be talking about what is class, and inside a class I'll be talking about constructor, different variations of constructor, what is the purpose of constructor in a class. And then I'll be talking about objects, like we can have multiple objects, multiple diff models of one class. And then I'll be talking about access modifiers like public, private, protected, and what are the usage of these access modifiers. I'll be talking about static keyword in variable as well as static keyword in function. And then I'll be talking about method overloading, method overriding, and then I'll come to the inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, interfaces, encapsulation, and lastly I'll be building classes. What are the benefits and what are the usage of these components in object-oriented programming. So make sure you go and join that group, and if you don't know already what about anything about OOP, then I would recommend you to go and check out the basic tutorial that I have already created. I hope that you are gonna like this tutorial, and follow me on Twitter as well. I have given the link in the description below. So now let's start working on class first. So I have Eclipse open with an empty project, and the name of this package is OOP, and I have this main class inside this package, and inside this class I have an obvious main method that has to be in every project of Java. Alright, so now I'm gonna create a class, but before that let's discuss about what is class, what is the usage and benefit of creating the class. If I talk about the real world examples, you can take a class as a person, a student, a mobile phone, a bottle, a car, an aeroplane, a bike. All these things are models. So this can also be called as class. If we divide all these models into properties and the functions, then we can say that a car has a color, it's his property. A car has four wheels, it's the property. A car has a model, a car has a name, a car has a manufacturer. So these are the properties. So now these are the properties. What are the functions of that car? Functions can be defined as a get speed of the car. This is the function. Car move on the road. So this is the function of the car. If we talk about the function of a student, then student function would be get name. Student study is a function, and the property of student can be roll number, can be phone number, can be his name, can be his degree. These are the properties. So we see that all these classes have properties and functions. If you want to create multiple students from the university database, then we don't want to create each student and give the properties to individual student again and again. What we are going to do is we are going to create a class and give it its default properties and functions, that these are the properties of each student. Whenever we needed to create any student object, we will ask that class to construct a student for us, and that class will construct a student of for us based on the properties and the function that we have given to that class. But now, right now, I'm going to create a new class called vehicles because I want to work with vehicles. So let's go and create a new class. I'm going to give it a name, vehicle, and I'm going to create it. So you can see that I have this package OOP. All the classes in the one project must have inside the same package name. Alright, so I have this class vehicle, and I'm gonna use this class from this main method, or this is gonna be our tester. Alright, this is where our application starts. So what are the different properties of the vehicles? If you think about, vehicle has a name. So for name, right now I'm gonna give it a public access modifier because I will talk about later about encapsulation, that what is encapsulation, so that we may change this public access modifier into encapsulated version of variables. So let's keep it public right now. Alright, so I'm gonna give it public string name, and I'm gonna give it an empty string for now because I want to give it a name inside my constructor. I'm gonna talk about what is constructor in a bit. So now let's create another property. A vehicle has a color, again string type, so color. Alright, and one or two more I want to give it to. So this is the model. Alright, and the last one is, actually it's not blue, let's change it to E. Alright, so the last one is it has manufacturer. Alright, let's name it a company. Alright, now I have given this class its properties. There can be more properties, but for now let's stick with these 4 properties. These properties are common in all vehicles, whether it's a bike, whether it's a plane, whether it's a car, truck. So these are the properties of vehicles. So now what if I want to create this vehicle? I can create it with the help of a new keyword. Alright, so what if, let's say vehicle 1 equals to new, and I'm gonna use new keyword, and I'm gonna write the class name, and I'm gonna give it an empty braces. Alright, so this is how I have created a new vehicle with the name vehicle 1. I can give it any name. This is just like a primitive type variable, like we write int a, int b, double a, double b, and we can also write int age, int count. So name should be understandable. Okay, so I have given it a name vehicle 1. So this is the object. What if I want to create multiple vehicles with that class? I can do that again and again like this. I don't need to create all these properties for individual vehicles. So that's why I've created this class. But right now I can't do anything with it. I can't get the color of it. I can't set the color of it. I can't run this car on the road. Now let's modify it further. So let's see actually what is, I want to just let you know that what is this one. It's giving me an error because all the names are same. It should be different. So right now let's remove these things. It's gonna call a constructor in Java. If we don't define a constructor inside a class, it's already gonna create a default constructor. I'm gonna show you that what is the how to write constructor in Java. So this is an empty constructor. this was the code that was actually created by the compiler of Java for us. If we didn't create it, it already created it. Alright, so it has created a constructor and constructed a new object or vehicle class with those properties, and it has stored the reference of this object inside this variable, and this variable is of data type vehicle. Alright, so now I have created an empty constructor. I want to give it some values because each vehicle have different values, each vehicle have different color, different model, different company. So I want to I want to ask this class that these are the properties you need to set for this particular vehicle. Alright, so I have created an empty constructor. Let's leave it an empty constructor. I'm gonna create a new constructor with parameters. If you check out, if you see that the name of constructor should be same as the name of class. If it isn't the same, then it becomes a function. Alright, a constructor doesn't have a return type. Alright, so these are the things that need to be considered while writing constructor. The name is same and it has no return type. Alright, it's giving me error because I have created two empty constructors, but I need to give it name. So name, I want to give it color, and I want to give it model, I want to give it company. Alright, so I want to call this class and I want this class to construct a vehicle with these parameters that I'm going to send with this tester. Alright, but let's store these values that I'll be sending and adding up these values in these properties. Alright, so I'm going to write this dot name equals to name. Alright, the name of these variables can be different, but I have written the name same, the color same as this one, the model as this one, because I want you to show you what is this keyword. This refers to this particular class. It's mean that go to that class and find out this variable inside it and store the value that we have sent as a parameter to this constructor inside the property of this class. I hope that you have got the idea. Now let's fetch the property with name color and store that property with the value color that we have sent with the parameter. Alright, so I'm gonna give it model this dot company equals to company. Alright, so we have stored all the values that we have sent as a parameter to these properties. Alright, now I'm going to create a new vehicle. First one is the empty vehicle. I haven't given it any values because once it was constructed with this empty constructor, it all contained empty strings. Alright, so to show you that, I just want to print out system.println, and I just want to use this vehicle1 dot, and I just want to print out color. Alright, if I run this, you can see that it hasn't printed anything. It has actually printed an empty string because color is empty. I haven't given it an empty any value. Alright, now let's create a new vehicle. Alright, and I'm gonna name it vehicle2, but I'm gonna call give it a parameters. It has to be same in a same sequence as these. So first I need to give it a name, color, model, and then the company. So I'm gonna give it a name, and the name has to be, let's say it's Honda Civic. Alright, and the color is black, and the next parameter is model and company. Let's change it to Civic. and now I need to give it a model, 2012 model, and a company is Honda. Alright, now I'm gonna use this variable because this variable is being constructed with the help of these properties. Alright, now if I use this variable and fetch the color, it's gonna print black. Alright, you can see that it has printed black because I constructed this object from this class and I gave these parameter to this constructor. It has constructed a new vehicle with all these properties that I have given it right here. Alright, and I can fetch all those values with the help of this variable because this variable is having the reference to this object. Alright, and I can fetch any of those variables. Alright, so now I'm gonna create functions. Let's create a function, public void set name. Alright, and I'm gonna give it a name, and this dot name equals to name. You can see that I have created a new function. It has a different name as compared to this class, so it becomes a function. It's not a constructor. This was a constructor because its name is similar to the name of class. Alright, so now I'm gonna give it, you can see that I created an empty vehicle, but once a vehicle is created, later on if I want to change any value of its property, I can change it with the help of functions. If I want to get specific value of any vehicle, I can get that value. Now you can see that it has got nothing because it was empty. Alright, let me add a name, and if I run it again, you can see that it is empty again. Alright, now I want this name to have some value for this particular vehicle that has a name vehicle 1. I can assign it a value with the help of this function. So let's give it a value. Alright, so I'm gonna use this function and I'm gonna use set name and I'm gonna give it a value. So let's give it a name city. Alright, and now if I print the name of vehicle 1, it's gonna print the name. So if I run it, you can see that it has printed city. Earlier it created this vehicle 1 with the help of empty constructor, so it wasn't creating anything. It used the default values that was here. If we write any default value in here, that would be there rather than empty string. But later on I want to change any value of specific property, I can change that with the help of that function. So this is how we can create multiple functions for individual properties. We can set all the properties with the set and the name of that property. So I'm gonna copy it and paste it 3 more times. I'm gonna change the name of to set color. Alright, and the third one is model. Make sure you follow the naming conventions. It has to be a camel case naming convention. Alright, so I'm going to change it company to company. Alright, but for the color I need to change the color property and give it this value. Alright, for the model I need to give it the model value. For the company I need to give it the company value. Alright, so I have set all the 4 functions for the properties. It's always a good practice to write that much functions for set the properties that I have defined right here. Alright, so now I got the color, but if I set the color right here, but later on if I want to change its car color, I want to change the color of this Civic. Alright, I can change that with vehicle to dot color. No, I can use this function set color. Let's go and see. So this is the function. Alright, and I'm gonna give it green. Alright, now if I'm gonna print this value, you can see that the same statement is printing green. Earlier it was printing black. So we have seen that we can change any of the properties that we want, whether it's been constructed with an empty constructor right here, or it's been constructed with this constructor with having a parameters. We can define multiple constructors as we want with different sequence of parameters, with one parameter, two parameter, three parameter, and so on. Alright, so this is called constructor overloading, that we have defined the constructor with the same name but it has different parameters, same parameters but different sequence of parameters. So I have set the functions. Now one thing more, that I need to get name as well, I need to get color as well, I need to get model as well, I need to get company as well. So while getting something, I don't want to give it anything because I want to get the previous set value of specific properties. But while getting the value, I need to set the return type. If you know already what are functions, then you must know that we need to set the return type if we are getting something. Alright, so I need to set return and I need to change its return type. Let's first change the return type of all these four functions. Alright, and I'm gonna remove this part of code and I'm gonna add return before each of these. Alright, so now one thing I want to mention, that you can see that I have added this public access modifier. It means that we can use these functions outside this class. Like this main method is outside this vehicle class, so we are using these functions right here. If that were protected, even then we were able to use these functions, but it has to be inside the same package. If we have set the access modifier to protect it and it's not in the same package, these both the classes, then we couldn't use those functions right here in this class, in this main method. Alright, but I'm just gonna show you that what is the purpose of private functions. But before that, I just want to let you know what is encapsulation right here. Make sure you are doing it yourself as well with me. I just want to let you know that let's check out these functions first. Rather than directly accessing the properties, I'm going to use these functions to fetch these properties. Alright, it's not a very good practice to directly access these properties right here. We need to add a function inside a class that I have just added in order to get any specific values. So what I'm going to do is, rather than dot name, this is the property, I'm going to use this function and this is going to return me that name for this particular object. Alright, so I'm going to write get name. Alright, and copy it and I'm going to paste it right here. So if I run it, you can see that it has printed the same result. It has used that function. It actually recommended practice for the security reasons. So let's write here get color and get color as well. Alright, these are the functions I added there. If I run it again, you can see that it has printed the same result. Now we are still able to access these variables. We want to restrict user that you are not allowed to use these variables. If we are about to use these properties directly without any functions, we need to get an error. So for that, I'm going to change this public access modifier to private. Alright, now if I go and run it, you can see that it has printed the same result. Now if I remove it, let's press Ctrl Z to get it back. You can see that it is giving me an error. It's showing me that this field vehicle.color is not visible. Alright, because earlier it was visible because this property was public. Alright, now I've changed it to private. I don't want to fetch this property directly from this object. Alright, so I want to get this with this function. Alright, so this is how we can restrict any specific access to any property of the class. We want to add a function for setting any value to any property or getting that particular value inside that property with the help of getters and the setters. Alright, so I'm gonna just press get color and get color. Alright, now let's run it again. You can see that I have run this again. Alright, so now what is the purpose of private function? Let's check out an example. For that I need to add few more property. Let's add a private and I'm gonna give it a I want to find out the speed, and for getting the speed I'm setting out the criteria of engine that it's a 1000cc engine, it's a 2000cc engine. It might not be a good idea, but for just for letting you know that what is the purpose of private function inside a class, that would be a good example. I'm gonna write string and I'm gonna give it engine, and at start I can give it a default value. Let's give it a default value. Let's say it's 800. Alright, so an empty function would empty constructor would create all these properties including the engine value 800 because it has already set to 800. Now change this constructor string engine, alright, and give it to the engine equals to engine. Alright, we also need to create the setter and getter for engine. So set engine, and I'm gonna change its name right here as well, and for the getter as well, engine, get engine. So you can see that I have added a few more lines of code right here, but I want to get a speed. Alright, let's add a public function, and I'm gonna write a return type int and get speed. Alright, and for getting the speed I'm gonna use this engine value with the speed. Alright, so now let's change it to private because I don't want this function to be accessible outside this class. Alright, and I'm gonna call this get engine function. Alright, so I have set this primitive type with the string, and then this is the int. From outside this class, I'm gonna call this function, alright, and this is gonna call this function. Alright, this function is only for utility purpose. It's not going to be used outside this class. So the purpose of writing a private function is that we don't want that particular function to be used for applying or making change to any property of that class. Alright, in fact, it should be doing any specific logic, any complex mathematical logic that doesn't need to do with that function, that doesn't need to be called from that tester class. Alright, if we are having a function that has bunch of lines, hundreds and 200s of lines, it's always a good practice to break down that function into multiple functions. So the multiple functions should be in private, only that function should be public, that has to be called outside that class, that has to be tester. Alright, so this is just for illustration. So I'm gonna check if a equals to 800, then I'm gonna return speed of 90. Alright, else return 120. Alright, so let's go, and I'm gonna give it a value 800. Alright, it was giving me an error because there were 5 parameters in that constructor. I was sending 4 parameters, so I need to add another parameter to that constructor. Now what if I want to get the speed of this vehicle? Now I have added this property to the constructor. Now I want to check out the speed with respect to the engine. Alright, now let's go and print line vehicle 2 dot get speed. Alright, and if I run it, you can see that it has returned me 90. So what it has done, I have called this speed function, alright, and it called this get engine function from inside this function. Alright, I'm not using this function from this tester class because I don't want to use it. Alright, and it is using this function from here, and inside it, it's checking the value that it will return. If it is equal to 800, then return 90. Alright, if it's not 800, then return 120. Alright, we can check out multiple conditional statements right here, but this is just for illustration purpose. I have just added if and else. Now if I change it to 900, it's gonna print 120. Alright, so let's run it. You can see that it has printed 120 because the return value was not 800, it was actually 900. Alright, so I have used this function from inside. So anything that we need to use from inside a specific function, that has to be private. Alright, so now last thing for this class thing is that how to use static keywords for the variables. Right now you see that individual properties have its own values for individual variables. What if I want to keep all these vehicles have same value? If I change any particular property, the value of any particular property with the help of vehicle 1, it should also reflect that change in vehicle 2. if I change any property value with the help of vehicle2, like vehicle2 dot set color green, it should also change the color to the vehicle1. Alright, so it has some benefits. So now let's go, and I'm gonna write public static int count equals to 0. Alright, and inside the empty constructor I'm gonna add count plus plus. Alright, whenever an empty object is created, empty vehicle is created, count has to be incremented. Alright, and inside it as well I wanna add count plus plus. Alright, as I have set it to public and I have set it to static. Alright, now let's check out, and as we know that we can directly access this variable because it's public. I have created this object. I just want to print the value of count from here. Alright, so I'm gonna use this vehicle1.count. Alright, if I run it, you can see that it has printed 1. Alright, now let's copy it and paste it right here. Alright, let's run it again. You can see that it has printed 2. Alright, so what it's doing, I have created this vehicle1 with the help of this constructor. It went to this empty constructor, it incremented count 1, so it becomes 1. So this is very understandable that it has printed 1. After that, I have created a new object with the help of a second constructor. Alright, and I have stored the reference of that second constructor inside this object. Alright, so it again counted count plus 1. Alright, but you can see that I have printed out vehicle1.count. I haven't printed out vehicle2.count. Alright, I constructed a vehicle2, but first vehicle1 printed count equal to 1, and then after that vehicle1 printed count 2. Instead it should have printed vehicle2 equals to 2, but it has printed 2 for vehicle1. So the thing that we have got, the idea we got from it is that if we are changing value with the help of vehicle2, it's also going to reflect that particular value for specific property for all other objects that was created with the new keyword. Alright, so I hope that you have got the idea. The purpose of using static keywords is not to actually, it shouldn't be a part of specific object, but it is beneficial to keep track of how many vehicles we have constructed in our factory, how many employees we have hired in a company, how many mobiles we have manufactured in our company. So these are the things, this is the thing that is very helpful for the company that is actually constructing or developing that specific product. It's not going to affect that individual object that we are constructing with the help of constructor. Alright, so another thing I want to show you is the static function. So what is the static function? Right now we have created these functions, setters, getters, but I haven't used any static function. Alright, so what is the purpose of static function? Alright, let's create public static int get count. Alright, and I'm gonna return it this dot count. Actually it's not gonna, it's showing an error because static function should be inside, should be called from a static function. And if I use to call this function from here, it should be static as well, and I'm returning a static property from here. And the reason it's showing me an error because it's not recognizing that if this variable belongs to any of these objects, it is equal to all the objects. It doesn't belong to any specific object because this value is same for all the objects, and this refers to that particular object. This refers to a particular scope that we are in, so it shouldn't be used right here. So static keyword, let's add get vehicle. Alright, and I'm gonna return few values. Alright, so I'm gonna get name, get color. So I'm gonna write a string that you have set the name and color of that vehicle. Alright, and I'm gonna give it a string as a return type because this is a string. Alright, so now if I want to call this function, it's because it's a static. How can I call this function? I don't need to use these variables, these objects. I can directly use vehicle dot get vehicle. Alright, I'm directly using the class name to call this function. It doesn't belong to the construction of an object. It doesn't depend upon that. If we want to call any specific object, any specific function without constructing an object for that class, I can just add this static keyword before the return type of that function. Alright, so if I run it, you can see that it hasn't printed anything because I need to write it inside it. Alright, so you can see that it has printed this string. So you have got the idea that I didn't use these variables. I directly used these class name to fetch the return value. It can contain multiple lines of code, but just for illustration I have just returned this string. So I hope that you have got the idea that how to use static keyword inside a class, how to use public private functions inside a class, what are getters, what are setters, what are the different variations of constructors, with the parameters, without parameters, what is the static keyword using with the variables, and what are the private functions, private properties to enable the encapsulation to enhance the security of our application. So next we will talk about inheritance. So let's do that. So now let's talk about inheritance. Inheritance is very important in object-oriented programming. If we talk about inheritance in real world, then we see that every child must inherit some properties of its parent. Like we might have inherited the properties like hair color, eye color, height, weight from our parents. So I have defined this class vehicle, and I have defined some properties and the functions for manipulating these properties. I have set this class as a parent class of car, bike and other automobiles, and I have defined these properties that are common to all the vehicles, that are common because name, a bike has a name, car has a name, bike has a color, car has a color, bike has a model. So these are the things. In the child classes, all these properties will be inherited by the child classes. Alright, and the child classes will have their own properties as well, which are different from other child classes. Like a car has a steering, bike doesn't have a steering, so the car has the unique property. So that's why I haven't added the steering in the parent class, because these are specific for the car but not for the bike. So now let's create a class called car. Alright, and right now I need to inherit all the public properties from this class. Alright, right now these are the privates. It has to be private because I want to fetch these properties with the help of public functions. Alright, so now let's go, and in order to inherit the properties of the parent class, I've created this car as a subclass, and I can use extends keyword, and then I can write the name of parent class. Now it has inherited all the public properties of parent class. Alright, and it must have a constructor, but before that let me have its own properties that are unique but not in the parent class. So private boolean, and I'm gonna name it a power steering. Alright, let's add a default value false. Default value is that it doesn't have a power steering. Another thing I want to add is boolean and LED screen true. Alright, there can be more properties, but just for illustration I've just added two unique properties that are different from other child classes and the parent classes as well. Now let's add a constructor for it. So I'm gonna write public car, and I need to write all these properties from the parent class. Alright, because whenever I want to construct an object of the car, I need to send these parameters as well. Alright, plus those parameters which are included in this particular class. So boolean power steering boolean, let me check out the spell. Alright, so now I have created the constructor. Alright, but I don't need to add this kind of code right here in this constructor for instantiating the values for the properties that are written in the parent class. What I can do is I can use a keyword called super, and then I can send these properties, these values to the parent class. Model company engine. Alright, so I have sent the parent class, and now in this constructor I also need to add the values of these parameters into the properties of this class. So this dot power steering equals to power steering. Alright, this dot LED screen equals to LED screen. Make sure, as I explained you earlier, that this refers to this particular class. So this dot any property means that the variable that I have defined inside this class, and the variable that I have defined on the right side of this equal sign is the variable that I have sent as a parameter right here. Okay, it can be a other name, but I've just added the same name as the property name because I wanted to show you how to use this keyword. Alright, so I'm gonna copy those functions, getters and setters. So it doesn't need to add getters and setters, but I'm just adding it just to not to face any problem later on for getting or setting the values. Alright, so set name, I'm gonna write set power steering, and I'm gonna add a variable right here. Alright, and I'm gonna change its name. Okay, in LED screen, let's change these things, and rather than set color, I'm gonna write set LED screen. Alright, it's giving error because that type mismatch, because this is a string, so I need to change it to boolean because the properties are the boolean type. Alright, so I've done with it. Let's copy it and convert it into getters. Alright, and for the getters it has a return type and it doesn't have any parameter. Alright, because while getting something we don't want to send anything, we just want to fetch the previous value that was already stored in this property. Alright, so I'm gonna remove this as well and add a return keyword before that. Alright, so I've added the getters and setters. Alright, now let's go and create an object of this class. Alright, so I'm gonna comment this code because I want my output to be look a bit of more clear. Alright, so I have commented it. Now let's go and create an object of the car class. Alright, and inside the car class I need to send all these properties, plus the first one was a power steering, so I'm gonna send it to true, and LED screen has to be false. Alright, so I have created the object of this car class and store the result, store the address of that object in this variable. So with the help of this variable I can access to all the public functions and the public properties if I have added. Okay, so print line, I'm going to use car1 dot. You can see that it is giving me those functions which are not in the child class but in the parent class. So because I have extended the parent class in the car class, so it's showing me get color, get company, get model, get speed, and it's also showing me all those functions that are in the child class, which is our car class. So I'm gonna fetch LED screen. Alright, so if I run it, you can see that it has printed false because for the LED screen I sent false. Alright, now let's copy this line and I want to fetch the name of this car. Actually I needed to, let's go. Oh well, I mistakenly didn't set this to get. I added the set LED screen so it fetched the result. Actually it should be get right here. Alright, so I'm gonna change it get. Now this function would be giving an error that set LED screen doesn't exist, so I'm gonna change it get right here as well. So now with the help of the object of child class, let's fetch the property value of the parent class. Alright, because a child class can use the properties of its parents. Okay, so let's fetch name. Okay, so get name. Alright, and now let's run it and let's see the output. You can see that it has returned me that this car has a name Civic. Alright, because I set the name Civic right here. Okay, and it sent out all these property values to its parent. Alright, so I hope that you got the idea how to work with child classes. There are a few more things that are needed to be discussed right here in inheritance. What if I want to override write any specific function in the child class. Like you can see that I have set the name. Alright, I'm getting the name of specific vehicle, specific car or specific bike, but I want to add a string before this name, like the name of your vehicle is this. Alright, but I don't want to change this code right here. I want to override this whole function inside the child class, and whenever I will call this function, it's gonna call the child class function, because child class function have a higher precedence. Alright, that will be called first, and if the child class doesn't have this specific function, then the parent function will be called. So I'm gonna copy this function. Alright, and I will come right here and paste it. Alright, so it's showing me that you doesn't have this specific variable. Alright, so now what I need to do is, let me add a string. Name of your vehicle is, and in order to concatenate this string with the specific property, as you see that it's showing me an error if I write this dot name. So I need to call the public function of the parent class, so it's gonna return me this name, and I will then concatenate the value of this name in the child class. So I will call super function super dot get name. Alright, same as we called the super keyword for calling the parent constructor, and I'm using the super keyword for calling the parent function right here. In Java it's called method. Okay, so now if I run it, you can see that it has called this function. Alright, although this function was also existing in the parent class, but it didn't call the parent function. So I have override all the functionality of the parent class in the child class. So this is called method overriding in object-oriented programming. It actually exists in inheritance in object-oriented programming, and it is also very important for working in polymorphism, which I'll be talking about after discussing on inheritance and abstract classes and interfaces. Alright, so I hope that you have got the idea of how the inheritance work. I'll talk about further about inheritance later on. For now, make sure you practice yourself and create different classes of different models of these things. So that's it for inheritance. Next, let's talk about polymorphism by further extending these things. Okay, let's go. Well, before talking about polymorphism, I just want to let you know that there can be multiple ways we can inherit one class to another class. And we can inherit car as well. That is called multiple inheritance. Like car is inheriting a vehicle, and some other class is inheriting class, and some other third class is inheriting that second class. So this is called the multiple levels of inheritance. There are diamond inheritance, there are the multi-level inheritance, like more than one class are inheriting one parent class. Like I'm just going to do it for illustrating the polymorphism. Alright, but that is not the core concept of object-oriented programming. This is called the design patterns of object-oriented programming, or the design and analysis of object-oriented programming. I have planned to create the tutorials on those two things. One is the design patterns, and other thing is the object-oriented analysis and design. So for now, just leave it and let's talk about polymorphism from now. You can see that I have already created two classes. I need to create another class, bike, that will again be inheriting this vehicle class. So two classes will be the child of one parent class. So I'm going to right click on it and create a new class, and I'm going to name it bike. Alright, again I'm going to use extend keyword and set the parent of this bike class to the vehicle. Okay, So now again, let's add a property which is not in the parent class. It can be same as the property of car because these are the parallel classes. Both classes are siblings but not the parent or child class of one another, right? So there can be same things right here. So now let's add private boolean. Uh, what it should be, let's add f4 stroke it's true. All right, for now just add a one property right here. It shouldn't start with a digit. Let's add right here. Okay, now let's add a constructor bike. Inside a constructor again we're gonna add these properties from here up to here. All right, and the last one should be 4-stroke. All right, again I'm gonna use super keyword for sending these values to the parent class. All right, and using this keyword I'm gonna write 4-stroke and set the value of this property to the parameter that we have sent in this constructor. And for the setter and getter, let's go and copy this code. Let's remove it. So set 4-stroke alright, and for getting it, let's just change it to 4-stroke and get 4-stroke. Alright, and this is the boolean variable. I'm checking if it's a 4-stroke or not. If it's true, it's 4-stroke. If it's false, it's not 4-stroke. Now I need to add one more function in all three classes to illustrate you what is polymorphism. Okay, polymorphism means one object has different forms. Like a car is a car as well, and a car is a vehicle as well. A bike is a bike as well. We can call it a bike, but we can combine all these vehicles in a category of vehicle. All right, we can let's we talk about electronics. We can talk about refrigerator. We can talk about washing machine. Washing machine can be called as a washing machine as well. But all these things can be called as machines. Okay, refrigerator is a machine, watch is a machine, computer is a machine. We can further categorize things into subcategorize, but overall we can combine all these things into a large main category. All right, so what I'm gonna do is, just for illustrate you, I'm gonna add one more function in all these three classes, and that is let's add public, and I'm gonna add get info. All right, and I'm gonna return a string. This is a vehicle, and I'm gonna copy this method, and I'm gonna paste this method in this class, and I'm gonna change it a car. Copy this code and paste it right here as well. All right, and I'm gonna change it to bike. All right, the definition of this function is same. It has no parameter and it has a return type, and all these three classes have the same definition and the structure of this method except the string. All right, this is a bike, this is the car, and this is the vehicle. All right, now the concept of polymorphism is that the object, the variable of vehicle class, can take the reference of the objects of its child classes, but not the opposite of it. So what do I mean by it? Let's first create vehicle 1 I'm gonna copy and comment this code, vehicle1, and I'm gonna create new vehicle. I'm just gonna copy this line and paste it right here. Alright, so I've created this vehicle1. Alright, I'm not gonna fetch any specific property value, but I'm just gonna use that in getInfo function. So let's add system.out.println vehicle1.getInfo. Alright, let's run it. Alright, so it has printed me the string. Alright, it's not because that I have set the variable as a name vehicle1. Alright, it is not also because that this is the variable of type vehicle, but it depends upon that what kind of object it is referring. It is referring to the object of this class. Alright, this class, when we are constructing the object of this class, it is storing and setting up the space in the RAM, and it has an address, and the address of that space is being referred by this variable. So whenever I call this method with the help of this variable, it's gonna refer to that space in the RAM and get info, and it's gonna print the string. Now I'm going to use the same class and the same variable to refer to the objects of its child classes. So I'm gonna copy this code, alright, and I'm gonna change the name of it vehicle2, but I'm going to create an object of child class rather than the parent class. Alright, so I'm gonna call car. Alright, and the car constructor must have two more parameters, so I'm gonna write true false. Alright, so now this vehicle2, which is the parent is containing the object of the child class. If we talk about real world, it's obvious that parents give birth to child. Okay, so parents can contain the reference to the child objects. Okay, so now let's use vehicle2 and get info. Alright, so now if I run it, let's check out the output. You can see that I'm using the variable of type vehicle, but it is printing this is a car because this parent variable is referring to the object of child class, and this variable is referring to the object of itself. Okay, so this is how the polymorphism works. The parent class variable can refer to the child class variable, and it shouldn't be the first child. It can be our grandchild, great grandchild, multiple level inheritance can work with it. Alright, and we have also done the method overriding because the parent have getInfo, children have getInfo, so we have overridden those methods in the child classes. Alright, whenever we call getInfo, it's not gonna call the parent class function, it's gonna call the child class function. Now let's check out the bike one. Alright, so I'm gonna just copy. Now let's add bike vehicle3. Alright, and the last thing is 4-stroke. It's a 4-stroke bike. Okay, I'm gonna use the same function but with the variable vehicle3. This variable is referring to the object of the bike class. Alright, now if I run it, you can see that it has printed this is a bike because this variable was referring to the child class, which is the bike. So this is how we can work with polymorphism. It is very important in real life and in programming. It depends upon the requirement that how we should design our classes, how we should design the relationship in our classes. This is another course, object-oriented analysis and design. I'm gonna create that course for you people, that how to think of where to add that particular class, which class should be the parent of which class, there should be a multiple inheritance or multi-level inheritance or diamond inheritance and so on. Alright, So for now, you just need to get the idea that how polymorphism work and what is the polymorphism. In one line, polymorphism means that an object have different forms. We can categorize different forms of objects into one form and multiple form as well. In this case, a car is a car, this is one form, bike is a bike, this is one form, but a car is a vehicle as well and the bike is a vehicle as well. So we have categorized car and bike into a category of vehicle, and we are storing the object of car and bike in a variable called vehicle. So I hope that you've got the idea of polymorphism. Next we'll talk about abstract classes and interfaces, which are also very important. So now let's talk about abstract classes. I have created few more classes and I've removed the previous classes that we're working with that will only call by. I wanted to show you a different example for illustrating you the abstract classes. So the thing is that I have created a shape class. In this shape class, I have this shape constructor and a function, a draw function, and inside a draw function I have set shape drawn. Inside rectangle I have set rectangle drawn. Inside circle I have set circle drawn. Alright. These two classes are extending the parent class, which is the shape, and overriding the function draw inside it. Let's first check this out if it works. Then we will convert this structure into abstract class. I'm gonna convert this shape class into abstract class and see what is the difference between the actual class and the abstract class. So first let's check out. I'm gonna create shape1 equals to new, and I'm gonna create an object of circle. Alright, and with shape1 I'm gonna call draw. Actually I need to add it inside system.out.println to check this out if the string is actually printed or not. It's giving me an error. Remove the argument. Alright, it's giving me an error because it's expecting this function to return some value, so that that value may be printed inside this system.out.println. Alright, but if we go to circle, it's not returning anything, it's just printing it out. So we don't need system.out.println. I mistook that. Okay, now let's run it, and you can see that circle is drawn because the shape1 object, this variable, was referring to the object of circle. Alright, so it's working fine. Now let's convert this shape class into abstract class. So abstract class, we need to add abstract keyword before the class keyword. Now this class has become the abstract class. Whenever any class becomes abstract, we need to add an abstract function inside it. What is abstract function? Abstract function contains nothing inside its body. It's empty. We don't need to add anything. Whenever we add an abstract class, that class must have at least one abstract method, and that abstract method must be implemented in the child class. Means child class must override the parent unimplemented abstract method that is in the abstract class. So now I'm gonna just remove this out. Alright, and I'm gonna add abstract before it. Alright, it was giving me an error because this class is abstract and there is no abstract function inside it. I haven't added anything inside its body because abstract function doesn't contain anything. Now let's come to the rectangle class. So because rectangle classes are extending those parent class. Right now I am implementing the parent class function, which is draw, and printing this out. Alright, let's go and run this. You can see that circle drawn is printed. Now let's remove it. It has to be circle. Okay, now if I remove this function, it's gonna give me an error because this class is extending the class shape, and the shape class have abstract function, and whatever the function is abstract, that must be implemented in the child class. Right now in the child classes I have implemented draw function. In the rectangle class I have also implemented draw function. So the benefit of abstract class is that whenever we are working in a team and we want our colleague to implement that particular function in the child classes, that has to be their right to write a child class. Alright, so we write a parent class that has to be abstract, and we write down all the non-abstract functions as well as the abstract functions and give that class to our colleague, and the colleague will extend that class and will have to override all those functions that are abstract in the parent class. So that can be helpful for our colleagues to know that what function should really needs to be implemented, should really needs to be overridden in the child classes, and what are the functions that are not actually required uh, for implemented for overriding in the child classes because they are non-abstract. So the abstract class can have at least one abstract function. It must have at least one abstract function, can have more, and it can also have properties, it can also have constructor, it can also have non-abstract functions that only belongs to this class, and can only can also contain non-abstract functions. So this was the shape abstract class. Now let's talk about interface. Before talking about interface, let's discuss some problem. Right now I have extended this class. In Java we can't extend more than one classes. That has to be a single class or abstract class. We can't extend shape, or we add a comma and add another parent class. Two children can't have one children can't have two parents. All right, one children can have only one parent, or multiple children can have one parent as well. So the interface comes in handy that one class can implement multiple interfaces. It can be 5, 10, 15, and another interface can extend other interfaces as well. So right now I'm going to convert this class into interface. Alright, and now it's giving me an error because interface can't have constructor. Constructor should only be of abstract class or a simple class. Alright, and for the interface I don't need to actually write abstract keyword before a function. Alright, so this is the interface. Interface can't have properties, interface can't have constructor, interface can't have non-abstract functions. Right now this function is abstract because I haven't added any body inside it, and I don't need to tell it explicitly that this is an abstract method. It automatically convert this function into abstract method. It can't have non-abstract functions as well. So interface is fully abstract. Interface can't have any other properties rather than these abstract functions, and all the functions that we add inside interface must be abstract, or that no function should have a body inside it. And you can see that these classes are giving me errors. The reason is that there are different ways to implement the shape interface for the circle and the rectangle, and to do that we need to add a keyword implements. Alright, right here and right here as well. Alright, so you can see that we have implemented that draw function that was in the interface, inside the circle, inside the rectangle as well. Alright, so there is a lot of benefit of interface, that we can extend more than one interface as well, but we couldn't extend more than one class in the other class as well. So but we need to add implement right here. So we have implemented that interface. If we had another abstract function, we also needed to add and implement that function, including the body of that function in the child classes. Alright, now if I run this, you can see that the circle is drawn. Again, in abstract classes, in interfaces, the polymorphism is working. The variable of parent interface, whether it's an interface or a class, is referring to the object of child class. Alright, interface can implement other interfaces as well, but it is not using the keyword implements. If this is interface and this is interface, then here needs to be extends. Alright, interface can't implement other interface, but interface can extend other interfaces as well. Alright, so the benefit of that, if we want our colleague to implement all the functions that we have written in our interfaces, we write that interface, give it to our colleague, and they need to implement all those abstract functions that are written by me in that interface. So this is the benefit if you are working on large projects in a team. If you are working alone, it's good practice to write an interface so that we structure everything at a proper place, but it doesn't require, because individual person already know that what he needs to do. All right, again, it's talk of the object-oriented analysis and design that I'll be creating later on. So I hope that you have got the idea of core object-oriented programming concepts that I told you that I'll be talking about those things. I think that I've covered all those things, and you have got the idea how to work with inheritance, how to work with polymorphism, static keyword, public, private, protected, access modifiers. I have explained you the child classes, parent classes, different levels of inheritance. I have told you about the interfaces, abstract classes. There are a bunch of other things, but that is not the core object-oriented programming concepts. If you like this video, make sure you uh, click on thumbs up button and comment below if you have any question, and make sure you join the Facebook group. I have given the link in description below, and follow me on Twitter as well. Thanks for watching.